Okay, I gotta focus here. No, just be focused. Focused on the Gemara. Don't get distracted. Focus on the Gemara. That's that. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Babel on Talmud. Today we have the pleasure of learning Daf Nun Daled of Masechta Shabbos together. Quick overview before we begin. Another one of these things where there's just like lots of stuff, so I'm not going to go over everything, but it starts out with talking about sheep going out with this kind of protection to like make sure that they don't have babies. Goats with bags on their udders again. That's been a hot topic recently. Karen taking out camels outside. Another Mishnah with a whole bunch of list of stuff. I mean, I think sometimes the best way to do stuff is to just jump right in. So maybe let's do that. So, Daf Nun Daled Amud Aleph, all the way at the top. Harichelim yotzos kvulos. So the Mishnah had said that these female sheep can go out kvulos. So my kvulos, what does kvulos mean? Shemechavlin al yosheloin lemata kedei shelo yailu aleim azcharim. It means that they tie the tail of these sheep like down so that the rams will not be able to mate with them. My mashma da kavul lishna to loavid pere. Who? How do we know that this lashon of kavul, of kvulos, is a lashon of not bearing fruit, i.e. we're going to tie down the tail so that they will not be able to mate and they will not bear fruit. So dichsiv, as the pasuk says in Yeshaya, this was when, I don't know the details, but Shlomo Melech basically gave some land to Hiram, because Hiram, I think, helped him out with like materials and stuff for the Beis HaMikdash. So then Hiram goes to see like what he got, and he's like, Shlomo, what did you give me? So he says, what are these cities that you have given me? And he called them Eretz Kavul. Okay, my Eretz Kavul. What does it mean, Eretz Kavul? So Amar Rav Huna, Shayu ba b'nei Adam shemechuvalin b'kesef u'v'zav. So Rav Huna says, you know what Kavul means? That there were people there that were Kavul with kesef and zav, that they were like chained and strapped up and wrapped up with gold and silver. Sounds not too shabby, right? So Amalei Rava Yachi. So Rava says, well, if that's the case, that they were so gosh darn wealthy, well then, Hainu Dichsiv, is that what the pasuk means? V'lo yashu be'enav, v'lo yashu be'enav? Is that what it means, that Hiram was like less than impressed with these lands because the people there were so rich? What's the problem with that? What, because the people there were so wealthy, that was a problem for Hiram? So the Gemara answer is, Amalei in. Rav Huna says, actually, yes. Since these people were so wealthy and so pampered, lo abdi avidsta, they wouldn't work. And if they don't work, then I guess that there's not much for this Hiram guy to get from them, right? The more you work, the more you got to pay taxes and stuff, I guess. And he wants taxes. Why not? Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak Amar, Eretz Chomton Isa. So Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak has a more pashut answer, a more straightforward answer, which was, it was a very salty land that was full of cracks and just wasn't very good for growing things. V'amai karila kavul, and what does kavul have to do with salty and cracks and stuff? The mishtarga kara ad kavla, that your ankle would sink into this land, or that your foot would sink into this land until your ankle. V'amri inche ara mechavla delav de avad pere, and people would say, these salty lands that don't make any fruit. So Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak had a more straightforward answer, which is that kvulos is a lashon of like land that doesn't produce any fruit. Okay, kvunos, and we said that sheep. What did we say? That sheep are not allowed to go out kvunos, or that it can go out kvunos. Yeah, the sheep are allowed to go out kvunos. So the question is, what is kvunos? So my kvunos, shemechavnin also lemilas. That's interesting. So these sheep, when they were born and they had like really white wool, so they would basically cover it. They would put some kind of a cover over the wool to preserve their whiteness. Kidisnan, as we learn in the Mishnah, se'es katzemer lavan. So a se'es, like that's like a type of tzaras thing. So it has to be white, like white wool. So my tzemer lavan, what is this white wool? Amar Bevai bar Abaye, so said the very, very holy Rav Bevai bar Abaye, Kitzemer naki ben yom shemchavnu nosa lemilas. It's like very clean, 1 day old wool that they then cover up and preserve to be used for very fine wool items. Va'izim yotzos tzruros. Okay, and then as we said in the Mishnah that these goats would be allowed to go out with these pouches, these coverings that they had on their udders, which was either for one of two reasons, either to dry out the udders so that they should not produce milk, or davka to catch any milk that might leak out of the udders so that you don't lose the milk. So Idmar Rav Amar Alach Rabbi Yehuda, Shmuel Amar Alach Rabbi Yossi. So Rav says that the halacha is like Rabbi Yossi, like Rabbi Yehuda, that it depends. If the if these pouches are there in order to prevent the goat from producing milk, so then they would be allowed to go out with these pouches because they're going to be tied on more tightly. Whereas if they are to get to catch any milk, then they might fall off because they're not going to be as tight, and then you might end up picking them up and carrying them down Amos. It would be a whole thing. So therefore, he says it depends. Whereas Shmuel says the halacha is pashut like Rabbi Yossi, that it's not allowed no matter what. Vika demasni la lehashmaita ba'penafsha. There are those who say that no, it wasn't as simple as that. Meaning, Rav didn't actually say that the halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda. Shmuel didn't actually say that the halacha is like Rabbi Yossi, but rather Rav and Shmuel separately said their opinions, and what they said aligns with Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi. Let's see. Rav Amar liyabesh muter v'lo lechalev. So Rav said that you would be allowed to, that these goats would be allowed to go out with these pouches as long as it is to dry out their udders. But if it is to catch the milk, it would not be allowed, which is essentially like Rabbi Yehuda. Ushmuel Amar echad zeh v'echad zeh aser. And Shmuel said that whether it is to dry, whether it is to catch the milk, it is not allowed, and essentially that would be like Rabbi Yossi. V'ikdamasni la aha. And there are those who quote Shmuel's opinion on the following: Izim yotzos tzuros liabesh avalo lechalev. That we have a brisa that says that goats would be permitted to go out with these pouches if it is to dry out their udders, but not if it is to catch the milk. Mishum Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira amu, however, but they said in the name of Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira. And Janine, I was looking on the chart that you provided to find like where Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira fits in, and I couldn't find him anywhere. Am I just missing it? Or do we have to, where did he go? Halacha, so Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira amu, kach halacha. So Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira said that while this is me'ikar adin, really, technically speaking, is the halacha that if the pouch is to dry out the udders, the goat would be permitted to go out with this pouch. However, aval mi mapis ezul yabesh ve'ezul lechalev. Who's gonna mapis is like from a pious, from like a lottery. Who's gonna draw lots to kind of guess, well, this goat has this pouch for its to dry it out. This goat has it to catch the milk. Like, how are you supposed to know? And because we really don't have any practical way of knowing the intention behind why this pouch was tied to the udders of this goat, so we just have to assume, practically speaking, that they're both forbidden, and the goat may not go out with this pouch in any case. Amar Shmuel v'Amrila Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel halacha Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira. To which Shmuel said, the halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira. So that is how we see that Rabbi Yehuda is essentially saying like Rabbi that Shmuel is essentially saying like Rabbi Yossi, that both whether it's l'chalev, whether it's liabesh, a goat would not be allowed to go out with this pouch. And that, according to this explanation, is based on Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira's assertion. When Ravin came, he said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan that the halacha is like the Tanakama, i.e. the Tanakama of our Mishnah that says that these goats would be allowed to go out with these pouches, whether it's lichalev, whether it's liabesh, it's mutter. New Mishnah. Uvama eina yotza. And with what does the animal not go out with? So interesting, when it came to the parak of Bameh Madlikin, when it came to the parak of Bameh Tomnin, it first explained the stuff that you're not allowed to use. In this parak, we first explained the stuff that it is allowed to go out with, and only now we're getting to stuff that you're not allowed to go out with. So lo yetze gamal b'mitulteles. So a camel does not go out with, so remember we were talking about these pillows that you put on the donkeys? So a camel should not go out with these kind of pillows, and we're going to explain that in the Gemara. Lo akud v'lo ragul v'chein shar kol behemis. A camel should not go, and we're going to explain what this means. Not akud, somehow tied up. We're going to find we're going to define this. Not ragul either. We will define that. And similarly, all behemos. I guess whatever this akud v'ragul thing is, that applies not only to camels but to all animals. Lo yiksha gemalim zebazeh v'yimshoch. Do not create like a whole caravan of camels, all tied one behind the next, and then, just kind of pull the first one. Don't do that. We will also explain why in the Gemara. However, if you have like two camels next to each other and each one has its own like leash, so to speak, has its own rope, you can hold on to both of those ropes in your hand, as long as you don't wrap them up, and we will explain what that means as well. So basically, the Gemara will explain the Mishnah. Says the Gemara, Tana, lo yetze agamo b'mtuteles akshura lo biznavo, avo yotze b'mtuteles akshura biznavo uvechotarto. Okay, so a camel should not go out with this pillow thing that is tied to its tail, or under its tail, but he can go out if this pillow thing is tied under its tail as well as on its hump. So, basically, the way I understand it is that they would tie like straps to the camel, so that you can put like burdens and loads on the camel, and then, the straps will kind of secure things. The thing is, if you wanted to prevent the straps from kind of irritating the skin of the camel, so you can put these pillows under the straps, okay? So that's what we're talking about. So a camel should not go out with this pillow that is, strapped under its tail. However, if it's strapped under its tail as well as on its hump, then it's permitted. And the reason being that we're concerned that if the pillow falls into Rosh Hashanah, you might end up picking it up. But if it's securely fashioned both behind its tail as well as its hump, so then not behind its tail but under its tail as well as by its hump, so then we can assume it will not fall off, and therefore it would be permitted for this camel to go out with such a configuration. Amar Rabba bar Rav Huna, said Rabba bar Rav Huna, Yotze agamo b'mtuteles akshur la b'shil yasa. A camel can go out with a pillow that is tied to its placenta, because apparently that would be uncomfortable, as it sounds. I don't know much about placentas, but it sounds uncomfortable. But in any event, because it's uncomfortable, it won't move around too much, and therefore it won't fall. We can assume more that it won't fall off. Lo akud v'lo yagul. Okay, so a camel should not go out akud v'ragul. So what is this? Amar Rav Yehuda, akud akedas yad v'regel ki Yitzchak ben Avram. So akud means with its hand and leg tied together, like Yitzchak ben Avram, by the akedas Yitzchak, when Avram was going to offer his son Yitzchak as a sacrifice to God. So he had Yitzchak lie on his stomach, and he had his feet and arms behind him, and he tied up one hand to one leg and the other hand to the other leg, and then his neck was kind of upwards. What's it called? Avram could just make a nice clean slit on the neck and make his son into a sacrifice. Nice. So that is what akud means. Akud means that you take one leg and tie it to one arm of the camel, and probably the other one as well. Okay, ragul. What's ragul? Shelo yachuv yado al gabezro v'yikshor. So what this means is that they would, to prevent a camel from running away. So a camel has 4 legs, so they would take one leg and kind of bend it and tie it somehow, so that effectively the camel was only able to use 3 legs, and then it would make it difficult to run away. That sounds very uncomfortable, right? Okay. Well, that's what these things are. So don't tie one leg to one arm of the camel, or like lift, kind of tie up one leg of the camel. Don't do that and take it out to Rosh Hashanah on Shabbos. Meisvei, we have a kasha on Rav Yehuda's definition of these things. The Brisa says, Akud shtei yadayim v'shtei raglayim. That akud isn't one leg and one hand, it's actually the two legs together and the two hands together. So, ragul, and what's ragul? Shelo yachof yado al gabi zoh v'yikshor. That stays the same. Ragul is still kind of tying up that one leg so that it only has three legs. So, huda amar ki haitana. So, my answer is that Rav Yehuda is saying like the following teacher. Titanis, we learn in a Brisa. Akud, what's akud? Akedas yad v'regel. Oh, it's tying up one hand and one leg. Oh, conversely, shtei yadayim v'shtei raglayim. Or, it's tying together the two hands or the two legs together. Ragul, and what's ragul? Shelo yachof yado al gabi zoh v'yikshor. That remains the same, tying up one of the legs so it only has three legs. V'akati lo dami. But the Gemara says, yeah, but that's still not a good proof. Meaning, right, the problem is going to be with Rav Yehuda's definition of akud, which he defines as tying up one leg and one arm. So we tried to bring this brisa to say as a proof that says that akud could be either tying the two legs together / the two arms together, or one leg and one arm. But bishlam reisha v'seifa nicha. So the first definition of akud aligns with Rav Yehuda, as well as the definition of ragul aligns with Rav Yehuda. However, mitziyasa, that middle part where the Brisa said that akud could also be tying the two legs together, the two arms together, kasha. That's a problem with Rav Yehuda, because Rav Yehuda doesn't say anything about the two arms together and the two legs together. So ella hudamer ki haitana. Rather, Rav Yehuda says like the following Tana. Akud akedis yad v'regel ki Yitzchak ben Avram. What's akud? It is tying one hand and one arm together, and probably the other hand and the other arm. Wait, hand and arm are the same thing. One leg and one arm together, as well as probably the other leg and the other arm together. Ki Yitzchak ben Avram, like Yitzchak the son of Avram, Yitzchak Avinu. Ragul shelo yachuf yado al gabi zoh v'yikshor. And what is ragul? That you should not, kind of tie up one leg, so that it can't run away. V'lo yikshor gmalim. Do not, kind of tie one camel behind the next and make a whole line of camels and then pull it from the front. My time outcome, because it looks like you're going to the market with them. And this is Shabbos. We don't want it to look like you're going to the market with them. However, if you have two camels and each camel has its own rope, you can, put the ropes, put both ropes in one hand. That's totally cool. But it says as long as you don't wrap it together, then that wouldn't be totally cool. Amar Rav Ashi said, Rav Ashi, lo shanu el inyan kilayim. The problem with wrapping these ropes together, right? So we said that you can put these two ropes into one hand and pull them. However, do not wrap them up. The problem with wrapping them up is that it would be grafting, it would be kilayim, it would be joining together two different species. So kilayim demai. What kind of joining together of two species are we talking about? If we're talking about kilayim of the person, right? We have a pasuk that says lo sachrosh shor v'chamor yachdav. I think that's correct. Lo sachrosh shor v'chamor yachdav. I think that's a pasuk. It's definitely a concept, which is that an ox and a donkey should not plow together. That is because they do things at different speeds, and therefore, don't do that. Either two oxen or two donkeys, but not one donkey and one ox. So, therefore, if this guy is pulling these camels, right? So let's say there's some other stuff. Let's say you have these camels. The camels are pulling some kind of load of sorts. Then you have this guy in front. So it will be ki'ilu, this human and the camels are pulling this load, and that could be theoretically an issue of kilayim, just like you can't have an ox and a donkey pulling something together, pulling a plow together. So you also wouldn't be able to have a human and a camel pulling something else. But ve'atnan, Adam mutter im kulam lachosh v'limshoch. But we said, but that's not actually a thing. A human, there's no problem of shor v'chamor, if there's a human over there. Humans can pull and stuff with whoever they want. So ela kilayim d'chavalim. Okay, fine. So rather the issue is of the ropes. Let's say you have one rope that's made out of wool, and one rope that's made out of linen, and you combine them in your hands, well that could be a problem. But we learn in a brisa, that if you take like a garment of wool and a garment of linen, and you just like stitch them together with one simple stitch, that's not really going to be considered connected to make it to be considered kilayim, right? And Rashi points out that the pasuk says tzemru fishtim yachdav. I'm in the Rashi dibur matzil shelo yetze chevel. It's like 3 lines from the bottom of Rashi, where it says tzemru fishtim yachdav, wool and linen together. Shelo asur haTorah el chibur yafe amiskayim. The Torah only made asur a good geshmaka connection that will be lasting. Holding two ropes simply in your hand is not exactly a lasting connection, so that wouldn't be considered kilayim either. So what's the problem with this guy holding and wrapping up these ropes in his hand? So the olam kilayim the chavalim. So the Gemara says no, really it is talking about the kilayim of these ropes. V'achi ka'amar, and this is what the Mishnah is saying. Do not wrap them around your hands and tie them, meaning if you do kind of two actions, you make like a double wrap or a double tie or a wrap and a tie, if you make it strong enough, right, meaning the Mishnah had said that one stitch, if you have a wool garment and a linen garment and you connect them with one simple stitch, that wouldn't be kilayim. But once you already do two stitches, it would be kilayim. And therefore here also, maybe, don't wrap them and also tie them, in which case it would be more significant and it would be a problem of kilayim with the two different ropes. Cool. Y'all got that? Good. Amar Shmuel, but make sure that the rope is not extending from beneath your hand, extending under your hand, out of your hand, one tefach. 1 second, they learned the Besmedrash of Shmuel that it can extend under your hand it could go out of your hand 2 tefachim. Meaning under your hand, right? We're not talking about between your hand and the animal, we're talking about between your hand and the floor. So, Shmuel says that the rope shouldn't extend between your hand and the floor 1 tefach. But in the Besmedrash of Shmuel, they said 2 tefachim. So what's pshat? So Amar Abaye, Hashtud Amar Shmuel tefach, v'tana devei Shmuel tefachaim. Now that Shmuel said that it shouldn't extend 1 tefach, but by the Besmedrash of Shmuel it said 2 tefachim. So Shmuel alach l'maisa lashminan. When Shmuel said that it shouldn't extend from your hand 1 tefach, even though in his Besmedrash they said 2 tefachim, why is he being more machmir? Because he's teaching us halacha l'maisa, which is very interesting. Meaning, even though me'ikar adin the halacha is 2 tefachim, if somebody would come to ask him and say, hey, how much can this rope come out of my hand? He would advise 1 tefach, just to be sure that he wouldn't do too much and be violating, I guess, carrying. And the issue would be that, actually, I think Rashi explains that if somebody would see that, what does Rashi say? 3 lines of line, lo yetze chevel. So Rosh HaChevel, lo yetze mitachas yado tefach l'mata d'dami k'mishenosa b'yado v'lo meschazia she'im me'afsar gemalim. Because if somebody sees that sticking out of your hand is like this rope, he'll think, oh, this guy's carrying a rope, and he won't realize that it's actually part of the rope that he's pulling the camels with. Right? So therefore, Shmuel, when he's advising, he doesn't want that, he doesn't want to tell people 2 tefachim because then they might, do too much, then people will see it and they'll end up carrying. So therefore he says, halacha l'maisa, he just said actually just tell people 1 tefach, which is interesting. That he was kind of being more stringent than he needed to be when he was advising people about halacha. Interesting. What about the fact that we said, whatever happened to this brisa that says when you also have to lift it off the floor, a tefach? Why didn't we mention that? So, kitanya ayi b'chavala de bene. No, the thing about the rope being off of the floor, a tefach, that is not talking about the rope that's sticking out of your hand. That's talking about the rope that is between your hand and the camel. The rope that is between your hand and the camel should be lifted off the floor at least 1 tefach, 1 hand's breadth. Because if it's dragging on the floor, then it's not clear that this, that you're holding on to the rope, and it might just look like it's dangling on the floor, in which case it would be considered a burden for this animal, and that would not be allowed on Shabbos. So therefore, just kind of make sure that it's lifted off the floor, and then it'll be clear that you're pulling it, and everything is cool. Alright, new Mishnah. Ein chamer yotzev madas v'zman she'en ekshur lo. Okay, a donkey, as we quoted this Mishnah yesterday already, that a donkey does not go out with its pillow cushion thing if it was not tied to it before Shabbos. V'lo bezug, and it does not go out with a bell, afapi shehu pakuk, even though the bell has been stuffed up with like cushions and stuff, so that it shouldn't make any noise. V'lo besulam shebetzavaro, the donkey should not go out with a ladder on its neck. V'lo bertzur sheberaglo, should not go out with ropes on its feet. Okay. V'natanagolim yotzim bechutin, roosters don't go out with threads, v'lo bertzur sheberagleim, and not with ropes on their feet. V'nazcharim yotzin ba'agala shetachas ha'aliyah shalen, and rams do not go out with like this little wagon thing under their tails. We'll explain what that is. Or how about this? I'll explain what it is right now. Basically, these rams would have, there were certain rams, I guess, that had like long tails, and these tails would drag on the floor, and they would get all dirty and stuff. So they would make these little like these little like things that had wheels, and the tail would just go on the thing with wheels. Isn't that interesting? Ve'enar chelim yotzos chanunos, is it ewes, ewes, female sheep, EWES, I don't know, whatever. Those things, so that we've like kind of been talking about. So they don't go out chanunos, we'll explain what that is. Ve'ena egel yotze begimon, we'll explain what that is, that a calf doesn't go out begimon. V'lapara b'ora kupar, now a cow doesn't go out with hedgehog, like skin on its udders. Like hedgehogs, they have this like kind of spiky, pokey kind of skin, like fur things. So don't take hedgehog fur with its spikes, or hedgehog spikes, I guess, and cover cows' udders with them, so that these like other things don't try to take its milk. V'lo b'ritzua sheben karnea, and not with some kind of rope between its horns. Parasol shel Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, the very holy cow of Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, Haisa Yotza B'ritzua Sheben Karnea Shelo B'ritzon Chacham, it would go out with ropes between its horns, but the Chacham were not very happy about that. My time, Kida Amaron. So the Gemara says, how come the the donkey wouldn't be able to go out with this ritzuah, with this mardas, with this pillow that was not tied on it before Shabbos. So it's, as we explained already, on Daf Nun Gimel Amud Aleph. So Rashi says, Kida Amaran she'ena kshura bo me'erev Shabbos to lo gali me'esmo shehitzricha l'chach she'ela l'malbush. That he didn't reveal from yesterday that he needed this thing, and therefore it's not like it's a malbush, it would be more like a burden, and it wouldn't be allowed. And he cannot go out with a bell, even though it's been like stuffed up so that it won't make any noise. Because it looks like you want to be taking this donkey to the marketplace. And as Rashi says, you put on this bell. This bell is almost like a bow tie. It makes it very cute. And people are going to want to buy it because it's such a handsome donkey. It's got a nice, cute little bell. And not with a ladder on its neck. Rav Huna beloa. So Rav Huna says that it's like this thing that they would put like by its jaws. Lamai avdele. Why did they have this thing that like they put by its jaws? Because basically, if this donkey would have a what are we defining this? Okay, yeah, this is the donkey, right? Yeah. So basically, I guess if this donkey would have some kind of wound, so it would like to kind of bite it, and I guess it would just be very irritating, and but the biting it would just kind of make it worse, I guess. So the owner of the donkey would put some kind of thing on its jaws to prevent it from like biting its wounds. It's but that it won't be able to scratch it, probably with its teeth. And not with these ropes on its feet, the avdile legizra, that basically if you have a donkey that takes very small steps, so it would sometimes step on its own feet and like scratch them and stuff, so therefore they would, to prevent that, they would put like ropes around its like ankles. Roosters don't go out with these threads. These threads were basically just a marker so that you should know that they are yours and not somebody else's. So they would put like special strings around and be like, oh yeah, those are my strings, this is my chicken. When I was where was I? In Sri Lanka, I think? Yeah, I think that was in Sri Lanka. So there were like these cows. It was kind of intense. There were these cows and they were like all scratched up. They would like scratch like letters into these cows so that you would know that they're yours. I guess you would like write your name on your cow. I don't know. That must have been painful. Maybe not. Maybe the cow likes it. Can't imagine that though. But what do I know? I'm not a cow. V'lo b'ritzua. And these chickens should not go out with ropes. Ta'avde lehu kechido litbru mane. So they would tie up their feet so that they wouldn't be wild and break stuff. So if their feet were kind of tied up, it's more difficult to be wild and break stuff. And the rams do not go out with this like little wagon for their tails. Such funny little instruments. So that their tails don't drag on the floor and get dirty. So these female sheep don't go out chanunos. What does that mean? Yosef Rav Acha bar Ula kamid of Chizda. So Rav Acha, the son of Ula, was sitting in front of Rav Chizda, Yosef v'ka'amar, and he said, Misha shegos in osa. So when they would shear the wool off of these female sheep, tomnin la azek b'shemen. So they would take some kind of a cloth and dip it in oil. Umanichin la al padachta, and they would leave it on the forehead of the sheep. Kadesh lo titztanis, so it shouldn't get cold, right? I guess its fur would keep it warm. But once you shear the fur, it can get cold. So to prevent it from being cold, they would take some cloth, dip it in oil, put it on the forehead of the sheep, so that the sheep shouldn't get cold. Amalei Rav Chizda, to which Rav Chizda replied, Im ken asisa mar ukva. You are giving this sheep a spa treatment that is befitting somebody as wealthy and as wise and important as Mar Ukva. Like, I don't think that we need to give a sheep such a spa treatment. Okay. Fine. That was Rav Acha bar Ula's attempt to explain what this chanunos are. It would be these cloths that they dip in oil. Rav Chizda seemed to say, I don't know if this whole dipping cloths in oil and spa treatments are necessary for sheep. Eli Yosef Rav Papa bar Shmuel Kame de Rav Nachman, changes Rav Chizda to Rav Nachman. So Rav Papa bar Shmuel was in front of Rav Nachman, V'Yosef v'Kamar, and he said, B'shasha koras leiled, when a sheep is giving birth, Tomnin la shnei azakin shel shemen, umanichin la echad al padachta ve'echad al arechem, kedetche tischamim. When a sheep is giving birth, they would take 2 cloths and dip them in oil. They would put one on its forehead and one on its womb, so that it will be warm. And I guess that would be helpful in giving birth. Amalei Rav Nachman imkena sisa yalta. So Rav Nachman said to Rav Papa bar Shmuel, if that's the case, then you're giving this sheep a treatment that is befitting of my wife Yalta. Like, we don't need to have such fancy treatment for sheep. Okay. So Ella Amar Rav Huna. Also, interestingly, it's saying that, the sheep doesn't go out with this stuff, with these cloths. But so I understand according to, who is it? Rav somebody by Ula. Rav Acha bar Ula. So it's after you shear the sheep. So then it's this cloth that you put on its forehead. So it can't go out with that. But if you're saying that it's talking about a sheep that's giving birth, why would a sheep that's giving birth be going out with these cloths like on its womb? And I don't know. All right. I don't know. Sheep are different. I guess sheep could theoretically maybe be, not necessarily in the hospital when they're giving birth. Anyways. Ella Amar Rav Huna, rather said Rav Huna, Eitz echad yesh b'karche ayam, there's a certain tree that they have in the cities of the sea, v'chanun shmo, and Lamaisa it's called chanun, and that's what these chaninus are. Chanunos. It's based on this tree that's called chanun. Umeviin kesam, and they would bring like a chip of this chanun tree, umanichin la bechotma, and they would put this chip in the nose of the sheep, kadei she tisatesh so that it should sneeze, v'yiplu darne rosha, and whatever bugs were in its nose or in its head should be sneezed out. Yachiz charim nami. Well then, why is this specific to female sheep? Shouldn't it be relevant to rams as well? So came into menagche scharim ba'adade mimelet naflan. Since the rams like to gore each other, so when they're goring each other, these bugs fall out of their noses on their own. Shimon Nazira Amar Kisma Derisma. Shimon Nazira says that it is a chip of a rotem tree, and that they would put up the nose. Bishlam Rav Huna Hainu Dekatani Chanunos. Out of all these opinions that we quoted, I understand Rav Huna's, because at least he makes an attempt to explain why they're called chanunos, based on this chanun tree that they would stick up their nose. So Ella l'Rabbanan my chanunos, but according to all the other opinions of the rabbis, so what does that have to do with chanunos? So the answer is the Avdinan lu milsa de merach minon alay, that we're doing stuff to show that we care about them, right? We care to make sure that they're warm after we've taken their wool. We make sure that there's no bugs in their brains and all that kind of stuff. Weiter. Vena egel yotze begimon. A calf does not go out with a gimon. My egel begimon. What is a calf going out with a gimon? Amar Rafuna bar Nira. So Rafuna said it's some kind of yoke that they would put on the neck of the calf so it would learn to kind of keep its head down. Amar Rav Elazar, my mashma da gimon lishna demechaf. Rav Elazar says, how do we know that a gimon is a lashon of putting down your head? Tichsev halichof ka'agmon rosho. Right? Should you bend down your head like an agmon, like this plant. That's called an agmon. So we see a gimon is like bending down your head. V'lopar b'or akupar, a cow should not go out with the sort of pointy skin hides of a hedgehog. Dabdila, that they would put on this cow, ki echidilo limatzua yale, so that these like bug things shouldn't like take its milk, drink its milk. V'lo b'ritzua shebein karnel, and not with a rope that is between its horns. So we already had this discussion on Daf Nun Beis Amud Aleph, right? There was bein linoi, bein what was it? Bein linoi, bein lintirusa. Is that what it was? Oh dang, what was it? Wait, no, I'm looking at the wrong daf. It's in the Gimel. Bear with me for a second. Bein lenoi, bein l'shamer. Right? That Rav said that taking out a cow on Shabbos with this rope between its horns, so whether it was just like for some kind of decoration, or whether it was to actually pull the cow and, by which guarding it, even though you really don't need to pull it, it'll just go where you want anyways, right? But it's just netirusa yaserta. So we said that Shmuel was the Manda Amar who says that you would not be allowed to put the rope between the horns for beauty, but you would be allowed to do it to pull it, because he says, like Hananya, that additional guarding is acceptable. And Rav would say that no, whether it is for decoration or whether it is for extra guarding, it would not be allowed, okay? And that's exactly what we're saying over here, right? So, Rav, whether it's according to Rav, bein lenoi, bein l'shamer, I had this right over here. So whether it was for decoration or whether it was to guard it, Asr, because he says the additional guarding is not allowed. Shmuel, Lenoy Asr, L'Shamer Mutter. Well, then you wouldn't be allowed to take it out if it was just for decoration, but you would be allowed to take it out if it was for extra protection, because he holds a Kananya that extra protection is acceptable. Parasol Shabbalaz ben Azariah, V'chada Para Havile. Shabbalaz ben Azariah only had one cow. V'Amarav, V'Amarav, V'Amrila, Amarav Yehuda Amarav. Treisar alfe egle have a meiser, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah me idre kol shata v'shata. Just the 10% maaser of Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah's cattle was 12,000 calves a year. So Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah did not simply have only one calf. Did not only have one cow. 12,000 cows was just 10% of his flock. He had, 120,000 cows, and that was just of the calves every single year. I mean, he had a pretty big flock. So what are you talking about? His one cow would go out with a rope. He had like tons and tons of cows. Right, and we learned also in Masechta Brachos, right, when they got rid of Rabbi Gamliel from being the Nasi, so they put Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, and they said one of the reasons was because he's wealthy. So clearly, he seemed to at least have quite a fancy, cattle operation going on. So they said, Lo shelo ha'isa ela shel shchina so ha'isa mitoch shelo micha ba nikres al shmo. No, rather, we're not talking about his one cow. He had tons of cows. It was his neighbor's cow. And because he didn't, say anything, protest at all about the fact that his neighbor's cow was going out with his rope on Shabbos, well, he got, it became called his cow. Okay, fine. Rebbe, Reb Chanina, Reb Yochanan, Reb Chaviva, Masnu. Okay, so Rav and Rebbe, I don't know if I said Rebbe, but I'm definitely meant to say Rav. So Rav and Reb Chanina and Reb Yochanan and Reb Chaviva taught. Now, there's a parenthetical note, which is Bechule de Seder Moed Kol Ki Zuga Chaluf Reb Yochanan Umayel Reb Yonasan. Anywhere in Seder Moed, in the order of Moed, which Shabbos is part of Seder Moed. So anywhere in Seder Moed where you have these four characters, not characters, but rabbis, so you can swap out Reb Yochanan and replace it with Reb Yonasan. Okay, what did they say? Anybody who has the opportunity to sort of prevent their household from doing something wrong and doesn't, so nitfas anshe beso, well, then he's going to be punished in the sin of his household. If he has the ability to prevent the people of his city from sinning and he doesn't, so then he gets in trouble with them. If he's in a place of authority where he has the ability to prevent kol olam kula, and Rashi says b'chol Yisrael, all of Israel. If he has the, and he says the bottom Rashi on the page, kigon melech v'nasi she'efshel limchos, right, such as the king or the leader that or the president, the leader, that he's able to prevent them, sheirein mipanav u'mekayim devarav, that they fear him and they do what he says, and yet he chooses not to step in and prevent them from doing whatever sin they're going to do, well, then he's going to be punished on their account. Oy, that sounds rough. Amar Papa, said Rav Papa, v'hani devei reish galusa, and these people of the exilarch, nitpesu al kule alma, they got in trouble on account of the sins of all the people. Maybe that's why there's no longer exilarch. I don't know. Or maybe there just isn't. Kiyada Amar Reb Chanina, like that which Reb Chanina said, my dichsev, what does the pasuk says? Hashem b'mishpat yavu im ziknei amo v'sarav, that the Eibishter is going to come in judgment with the elders of his nation and the officers. Im sarim chatu zikenim machatu. If the officers sin, well, what did the elders do wrong? Ela ema zikenim shalamichu b'sarim. Rather, you know what the zikenim did wrong? They didn't prevent the officers from wrongdoing. So, wow. Okay, I guess it sounds like a big responsibility that if we have the ability to prevent people from sinning or doing wrongdoing, we sort of have a responsibility to step in. Wow. Okay. I hope that we shall do that. Okie dokie. Cool off, right? Another one of these, like, lots of stuff going on, but in all this lots of stuff, there tend to be like these cool gems that you can pull out of there, so. I'll do kind of like a quick review. It's hard to kind of review everything because there's just so many small things, like you can't just do everything, but we started off talking about these sheep going out with these things that would hold down their tails so that they shouldn't be able to bear fruit. Then we quoted that pasuk from Yeshaya with Hiram and the land that he got, and he called it like not being able to bear fruit. So Rav Huna's opinion was because they were so wealthy that they wouldn't work, so they like wouldn't produce as much as other places where they were like real workers. And Rav Nachman Yitzchak says that the earth was just very salty and not very productive. We talked about tying the udders of the goats once again. So Rav said, like Rabbi Yehuda, that if it's for drying out the milk, it's okay. If it's for collecting the milk, it's not okay. Shmuel says, like Rabbi Yossi, that whether it's for collecting the milk, whether it's for drying out the udders, it would not be allowed. Rav Yud ben Becerra said that since we can't really tell the intention of why these udders are being tied up, so then, therefore we have to do like Rabbi Yossi and say that it's always usher. Ravin said the name of Rabbi Yochanan, that it's like the Tanakam in the Mishnah, that goats are allowed to go out with these bags on their udders no matter what. We talked about, kind of pulling camels, and, you can put the ropes in your hand, and as long as you don't like wrap them in a way that it will be kilayim. We talked about, is it human kilayim, which would be similar to like an ox and a donkey plowing together, which is not allowed. So maybe ki'ilu, if you have the human pulling the camels, and maybe the camels are pulling something else, it would be ki'ilu, you have a human and a camel pulling together. We said that's not actually an issue. The issue is that, in your hand, if you tie them up well enough, like a double tie or something like that, it could be considered kilayim if you have a wool rope and a linen rope. Okay. And then, we got into this new Mishnah where there was all these different, all sorts of different things, chickens and goats and I don't know, sheep. And, we got to the 4 different ways about, what it means that the sheep going out chanunos. There was the thing about, after you shear them, putting some kind of cloth with oil on their foreheads, or maybe when they're giving birth, you put cloth on the forehead and also on their womb. There was also the idea of putting some kind of wood chip up their nose so that they'll sneeze out all of the bugs that are there. At the end we talked about the cows of Rav Elazar ben Azariah, and then we said, what? Rav Elazar ben Azariah only had 1 cow. I thought he had a lot of cows, so this is really his neighbor's cow. And then the very last thing we talked about is how if you have the ability to prevent people from doing wrongdoing, so you got to do it, which is super intense. Well, hope you all enjoyed. Peace.